You're very welcome to our breaking news bite, all about the coronavirus, both here and in the south of Ireland, and of course in the UK. The total deaths in Northern Ireland to date is 1,397. Total deaths in the Republic of Ireland, 2282. So the total deaths on the island of Ireland is 3,679. So, at a glance, what is the new COVID-19 restrictions in the south of Ireland? The government announced a series of new restrictions aimed at tackling the recent surge in COVID-19 cases. The measures, which were agreed by Cabinet today, are top of the existing level 5s that's already in place. The measures are in place until the end of January under the latest measures. Schools will close until the end of the month, except in certain circumstances. Remember, this is the south of Ireland. Students preparing to sit their Leaving Cert exams this year will continue to attend school 3 days a week, starting from Monday the 11th. Schools will decide locally which days to open each week. Special education will also remain open with protections in place. Higher and further education will move online, except where a project is essential or time sensitive, for example, for lab activity or for practical work required during an apprenticeship. Children's services or childcare services, including regulated childminders, will remain closed with the exception of services for vulnerable children and children of essential workers. Other existing childcare arrangements can continue to operate for vulnerable children and children of essential workers only. In addition, a household of essential workers without an existing childcare arrangement can form a bubble with another household for the purpose of providing childcare. Passengers who arrive into Ireland from Britain and South Africa will now need to have a negative PCR test for COVID-19. Minister for Transport Eamon Ryan has said a person the Cabinet has said included. Meanwhile, a travel ban for passengers from Britain and South Africa has been extended until this Saturday. Non-essential construction work will stop at 6 p.m. on this Friday. Essential construction projects will be exempt, including health projects specific to COVID-19, housing adaptation grants, repairs, critical maintenance for rail and utility projects and roads. There will also be an exemption for education and social housing construction. Sole traders such as plumbers will be able to work on an emergency call-out basis. There will also be exempt from major foreign direct investment projects for exporting. Non-essential retail will no longer be able to operate click and collect services, but can continue to operate on a delivery basis. Existing orders may be collected. This does not apply to supermarkets or other essential retailers such as pharmacies. And what is considered essential retail under level 5, again, the south of Ireland? Pubs, restaurants and cafes can operate a takeaway or a delivery service for food. However, the sale of alcohol on a takeaway basis is no longer allowed. So the Taoiseach has says, forget about takeaway pints. Under the existing level 5 restrictions, people are only able to travel within 5 kilometres of their home to exercise. People are allowed travel outside the 5 kilometres for work, education or other essential purposes. However, people should work from home unless providing an essential service. And a list of the essential services can be found on the websites. All household visits are prohibited, including social visits to gardens, except for essential family reasons, those in your support bubble. People will be permitted to meet up and exercise with residents from one household in another outdoor setting. All non-essential businesses, including gyms, have been ordered to shut by the close of business. And that happened there on New Year's Eve. The number of people who can attend a funeral during the period of level 5 restrictions is 10. The number of guests allowed to attend weddings has been reduced to 6. All eviction moratorium has been reintroduced. Hotels, guest houses and bed and breakfast can remain open, but only for guests who are providing essential services. And museums, galleries and other cultural will remain closed. Visits to long-term residential care facilities are suspended except in compassionate circumstances. Public transport will operate at 25% capacity to allow those providing essential services to get to work. And the COVID-19 national summary in the south of Ireland: total cases 113,322. Latest daily cases, 5,325. Total deaths, as I said earlier, 2,282. The latest daily deaths are 17. Total hospitalised, 6,373. And total treated in ICUs, 695. And confirmed clusters, 10,770. That's all in the south of Ireland. The UK has reported a further 1,041 people have died with coronavirus, the highest daily rate since April. It came as 62,322 new cases were recorded, the highest daily rise since mass testing began. Health Minister Matt Hancock has said doctors could be forced to random treatment without the new curbs. There are 30,074 COVID patients in UK hospitals. He says, as an ambulance trust told of severe pressure, the number of those who died within the 28 days of a positive test in the past week is 37% higher than the previous 7 days. He also has told MPs the consequence of inaction could be similar to scenes elsewhere in the world of overrun hospitals and doctors choosing who to treat and who to turn away. If we don't act now, he says, we know that eventually the NHS would not be able to cope. We know that while the winter weeks will be difficult, we now know what the way it looks like, the way forward looks like, referring to the essential rollout of the vaccines. And then again, West Midlands Ambulance Service experienced its busiest ever day on Monday, handling 5,383 emergency services. All UK now is under strict virus curbs, with Wales, Northern Ireland, and most of Scotland also in lockdown. While England's lockdown became law at midnight, MPs will vote this evening to restrictions after Parliament was recalled. But again, these are rules that we already know about. So here in Northern Ireland, with lockdown was first introduced here at the end of March, it saw a raft of new restrictions introduced in everyday life. You can see from our graph here the figures coming up. While most of those measures were relaxed, a number have now since been tightened again. A new 6-week lockdown took effect on the 26th of December, which will be reviewed after 4 weeks. Further measures were also agreed on the 5th of January by the Executive in response to the rising number of cases after Christmas. The breakdown, which you can't do under the new guidelines and laws, are as follows. Travel. An order from people in Northern Ireland to stay at home to stop the spread of COVID-19 will become legal, enforceable from the 8th of January. It will mean people can only leave home with a reasonable excuse, such as for medical or food needs, exercise and work that cannot be done from home. The health guidance maintains no unnecessary travel should be undertaken, but has not imposed a formal travel limit in law. That was supposed to happen, but it didn't. The Executive says anybody travelling into Northern Ireland who plans to stay for at least 24 hours should self-isolate for 10 days. People who routinely cross the border for essential purposes will not be subject to these restrictions. The wearing of face coverings on most buses, trains and there are exceptions for those with medical conditions, and the face covering rules do apply to children under the age of 13 or in school transport. Since the 20th of July, there's been a phased return of MOT and driving test services with priority for taxis and buses due to first-time test in vehicles not previously registered here in the north. Home restrictions. People from different households in Northern Ireland are still not allowed to mix indoors. There are some exemptions, with bubbling allowed with one household of any size. Indoor meetings between households in that bubble are limited to a minimum of 10 people, including children, at any one time. Caring responsibilities, including childcare, are exempt, as well as supporting living arrangements. Visits required for legal or medical needs are allowed. Maintenance, repairs, installations and deliveries are also permitted. And from the 8th of January, no more than 6 people from a single household are allowed to gather in a private garden. Children younger than 12 are included in this total. Pubs, cafes and restaurants. From the 11th of December, restaurants, cafes and pubs that serve food have been allowed to open, but most have closed by the 23rd. So pubs that do not serve food must remain closed. From the 8th of January, those gathering in public spaces outdoors can do so in groups of 6 from 2 households, including children. Exemptions will apply, such as support bubbles, but the full list of exemptions is yet to be published by the executive. However, people will be allowed to take exercise outdoors with one person from another household. Shielding advice was paused from the 31st of July, and those who were told to self-isolate no longer need to shield. The Department of Health issued updated guidance for clinically extremely vulnerable people on the 23rd of December, saying that they should no longer attend work if they cannot work from home. Weddings and baptisms and funerals. Churches can carry out normal services, but the executive is arranging in further discussions with church leaders to move all services online from February. The 25-person limit on weddings and funerals can come back into force. That came back into force on the 26th of December. And no wedding receptions will be permitted either. It is mandatory to wear face coverings inside while entering and exiting all places of worship. Shopping. Non-essential retail had to close on the 26th, and there's a list of those shops deemed to be essential. I'm sure you can check them out on the websites. Homeware is no longer included. Close contact services such as hairdressers, beauty salons, and barbers will also close. And since the 10th of August, it has been compulsory to wear face covering in shops. We have noticed Destination Uri have also found that some people, particularly in the local shops, are not wearing masks, and we would ask those people to please wear masks. If it's not for yourself, it's for the people there as well. But there are a number of exemptions. And the 26th of December, off sales closing time and the sale of alcohol and supermarkets was closing at 8. There's no word of that. It's back to 11 now, so it may come back to 8. We're not sure yet. So again, gyms have been allowed to reopen from the 11th of December, but now they will be shut, and they have shut from the 26th of December. Many pupils will not return to school until after the half-term break in mid-February, with nursery, primary and post-primary schools carrying out remote learning until then. Special schools will remain open as usual. Vulnerable children and children of key workers will have access to schools for supervising learning. Childcare settings will be allowed to remain open, and childminders can continue their services. Payments to parents of children who receive free school meals will also continue. Further, and higher education institutions should only deliver face-to-face learning when it is essential. All GCSE, AS and A-level examinations in the North will not go ahead this year. Post-primary school transfer tests have been cancelled this month, but one of the providers, the Association for Quality Education, AQE, later announced that a single transfer test would be held on the 27th of February, subject to public health advice at that time. And then it's bad enough having COVID-19. The second suspected bird flu outbreak has hit Northern Ireland. And Ulster Farmers Union Chairman Victor Chestnut said initial results have confirmed the disease at a premises between Moira and Lisburn. It follows an outbreak at a commercial poultry farm near Clough in County Antrim on New Year's Eve. 30,000 birds are due to be slaughtered there as part of the government-led response. Bird flu or avian influenza is carried by migrating wild birds and poultry flocks to be culled. So it's a major issue for the poultry industry here in the north of Ireland. So it gets from bad to worse. And of course, don't forget, you'll get all your local updates here on Destination Uri. We would say to everybody at this time to be vigilant, to think of your neighbours, pick the phone up, give someone a ring if they have nobody to talk to. It's always good to pick the phone up and talk to somebody. They will always appreciate it. We would also ask people to be careful and to watch themselves. This is serious. This is even worse than we had in last April, and it's getting worse as the days go on. So on behalf of Destination Uri, we'd be asking people to please be very, very careful. Keep your distance. When you're out shopping, don't talk to people and stay the distance from the next person beside you. I know it's difficult, particularly the way things are going and with Brexit coming in and stuff starting to go off the shelves. But we had asked people to please be careful. It's got very, very serious. These are dangerous times we're living in.